Everyone's heartbroken over this.
Now at 10, talking to experts about safety on the playground following the tragic death of an 8-year-old boy. What you can do to keep your kids safe. Plus,
we're looking at things differently every day.
Reimagining public safety, a panel at the University of Utah discussing policing in the post-George Floyd era. And the Utah Jazz shaking things up, a major trade involving Mike Conley.
Live from Utah's first TV station, ABC4 News celebrates 75 years.
Welcome to ABC4 News at 10. I'm Glenn Mills.
And I'm Emily Flores. We thank you for joining us here tonight. A father's words after a fatal fall at a playground in Tooele County. 8-year-old Dallin Cunningham passed away after falling off a slide at Rose Springs Elementary on Monday. Now, Dallin's dad sharing this statement tonight, writing, "Dallin is the perfect, imperfect 8-year-old little boy, sometimes teasing, sometimes antagonizing, but always in love for his 3 sisters, his mommy and daddy." A family spokesperson, Katrina Orr, saying tonight, the Cunninghams are not mad, nor do they blame anyone for what they consider to be an honest accident. Now, Dallin's tragic death causing parents and kids across the state to pause tonight.
My kindergartner, especially after, he said, "Mom, that's really sad." And I think that sums it up.
This type of accident causing concern for parents over the safety on their local playgrounds. While authorities look into exactly what happened still in Tooele County's situation, ABC4's Courtney Johns live in Salt Lake City tonight with more on what you can do to keep your children safe. Courtney.
Utah's Department of Health and Human Services says that local health departments are required to inspect playgrounds in their area. And because they get so much use, as parents, it never hurts to check that equipment before having your children play on it.
Cracks in a slide, inadequate or improper surfacing under the equipment, possibly missing parts, rusted or corroded metal, damage caused by vandalism. There's going to be typical wear and tear.
You should also be mindful of wet or extremely hot or iced over equipment. Joel Johnson says the most common injury reported for activity is playing on monkey bars, but after that it's simply just running around, which is why he says the most important thing you can do as a parent is teach your child how to safely use the playground. That includes things like waiting your turn and not running near the swings. Now, we also talked to a playground safety inspector who told us it's important to make sure there is nothing within 6 feet of raised playground equipment. And another thing to check, how deep the playground fill is.
The depth of that fill is very important to the impact that the child's going to have when he falls.
There are a lot of factors that go into determining how deep that fill needs to be, including the materials used in that fill. Maybe it's pebbles, maybe it's rubber, as well as how tall the playground equipment is. But according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, they say the bare minimum is 6 inches. Reporting live in Salt Lake City, Courtney Johns, ABC4 News.
Courtney, thank you. Ogden police still searching for a person who hit a cross guard yesterday. They say it happened at Harrop Street and Monroe Boulevard. This just before 7 in the morning. The crossing guard was setting up when a car driving southbound hit them and then drove off. The guard was taken to the hospital in stable condition. No children were involved. If you were in this area and have any information, Ogden police would like to hear from you. The number right there on the screen. State lawmakers presenting legislation and appropriations requests to help us all breathe a little easier. Air quality discussed at length on Utah's Capitol Hill. The Bipartisan Clean Air Caucus outlining several dozen bills and proposals in hopes of improving our air.
Clean air is going to be, I think, a constant struggle, and we've made a lot of good progress. As Senator Weiler said, they've taken on a lot of the low-hanging fruit, and now we've got to just keep going and try to get some of the harder things.
Bills to be considered are aiming at reducing emission levels, another to promote cleaner energy in Utah through loans, and then a resolution to encourage Utahns to stop idling their vehicles.
All right, and a perfect segue over to a first look at the forecast. So Chief Meteorologist Alana Brophy.
Yeah, we all know how ugly that air quality can get during the winter, Alana.
It can be rough. This year hasn't been bad as others as we look at those comparisons, but at this point, we had a system move through today, and that helped us out with some air quality. We're starting with the wind tonight because that's a big mixer when it comes to inversion. You're taking that live look at Price. They're currently under a wind advisory, and watching this camera, we've seen this stoplight sway several times as well as this camera moving because of the wind gusts that come every couple of minutes. We know strong wind potential is there with gusts up to 50 miles per hour, not just in Castle Country, but in the western Uinta Basin as well. That's where our wind advisory is posted and will hold on until 4 a.m. We know gusty conditions, downslope winds associated with the front that came through and brought some light precipitation to the Wasatch Front today. Now we could see those wind gusts holding steady, and we know that's going to be an issue as we get into the early morning hours. Now it's not just those areas under advisory. We saw gusty conditions today, and that included at Windy Peak over in the Uintas. Big numbers coming out of Logan Summit, Mount Baldy, Farron getting a 49-mile-per-hour gust, and then Utah County getting gusty as the front moved through. It was the post-frontal winds that really packed a punch. That wet weather that I talked about has cleared the state in the last few hours. We watch it dwindle along the Wasatch and then on the eastern side of the state. Right now, just some clouds hanging out there, but behind it, that northerly to northwesterly flow, it is chilly. It packs a punch. How long we see the cold below average temperatures stick around, coming up in my full forecast in just a few moments. Glenn, Emily, over to you.
All right, thank you, Alana. Well, researchers looking into the Great Salt Lake releasing their findings today on what we can do to save it. The Great Salt Lake Strike Team, which consists of experts with the University of Utah, Utah State University, and state agencies, saying that the lake is in a stark situation, falling to the lowest level on record last year. They say evaporation and natural variability are factors for this record low of elevation, but about 2/3 of the challenge is from humans and natural consumption. These researchers took a deep dive into how we got here, recommending steps for policymakers, including a focus on conservation and setting a lake elevation range goal.
We certainly can prevent the drying of the Great Salt Lake, and way before that, the deleterious effects. I think that's optimistic. It's not going to be easy, but we can do it.
The team says although progress has been made with recent legislation, there's more work to be done.
The country's top energy leader in Salt Lake City today, U.S. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm, is touring the University of Utah's Energy and Geoscience Institute. During her tour, she announced $74 million in federal funding for geothermal energy research. She called geothermal energy the holy grail of clean energy, saying it has the potential to power millions of homes.
We have the potential to power 45% of America's homes by 2050, and potentially even more than that with the research that's being done here.
Geothermal energy already powers about 6% of Utah's power grid. Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson joining the secretary on the tour this morning. Granholm is also visiting Reno and Boston this week.
And a panel at the University of Utah tonight to discuss reimagining public safety, dream realized or deferred. Now, campus policing continues to be top of mind for students, faculty, and staff on the University of Utah campus. Panelists discussing the post-George Floyd era, what has changed in law enforcement and what hasn't. Also asking, do we need police? Panelists and attendees discussing and answering questions on where policing needs to go and what has changed at the University of Utah. Also, what do we as a society do now?
There's no getting around our history. We've had some tragedies here, especially the tragic murder of Lauren McCluskey in 2018. And there's been a lot of changes since then, improvements in the way that we police and provide public safety services.
The discussion tonight led by Dr. Tracy Al-Kisi, co-founder, president, and chief operating officer at the Center of Policing Equity, which promotes police transparency and accountability.
Today, the Utah Black History Museum traveling exhibit making a stop at Utah Valley University in Orem. The exhibit featuring inspiring stories from black writers, musicians, and leaders in Utah and across the country for that matter. Organizers say the goal is to teach and celebrate black culture and promote an appreciation and advancement of the black experience in Utah.
Expanding history in general, we have to kind of plug up those holes sometimes as community members, and so black history is one of those holes.
Another feature of Utah's Black History Museum is the bus. It travels throughout the state, sharing Black history with students and communities.
Coming up, Congressman George Santos is noticeably absent from a meeting between the governor of New York and her state's congressional delegation.
And the latest on the recovery efforts following that deadly earthquake in Turkey.
Plus, we saw some light snow in portions of the Wasatch Front. This dog didn't seem to mind in Sandy as the light snow came down. It was associated with a cold front passing through the state. Thanks to Rachel for sending this our way. The cold front's gone, but the impacts it leaves behind heading into the overnight and into your Thursday in Utah's most accurate forecast.